I've just never really cared much what people thought of me, especially people who want to, hide behind an anonymous account on social media, try to spew their rhetoric, all these things that they would say, they would never say to my face. It was all of these young children and these drag queens just doing disgusting things right in front of them. And I saw that footage. And in a way, and I say this and I mean it, in a way it radicalized me because a lot of the kids who are being brought to these events are young boys.
Right.
These are mentally ill mothers bringing their young boys to be exposed and indoctrinated into this at a young age. And I have young boys. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, I'm not comfortable living in a society where this is normalized and made okay.
Ready to roll?
Yep.
All right.
Real Texan.
Why should this matter to real Texans? Hey, welcome to this edition of Real Texans, talking to the men and women of the Lone Star State who are doing great things to make our state shine brighter, which means I get to sit down with friends like Sara Gonzales. Sara Gonzales, host of The Blaze's Sara Gonzales Unfiltered, host of Texas Scorecard's Come and Take It, and the vice president of the Texas Family Project. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I know I have too many jobs, so it's a mouthful.
No, it's like a 45-minute introduction to say what all you do.
Sorry.
You're like the Energizer Bunny of the conservative movement. You're just always moving.
That's me. My husband says that I have too many jobs. I said, actually, the problem is not me. The problem is that there's not enough hours in the day.
Exactly.
So if we solve that.
If you had a 40-hour day, you would be...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk about those things you do, but
sure.
I want to kick off. So one of the favorite factoids, I had to confirm it with you just a moment ago, that you went to Texas State University studying criminal justice.
I did.
What inspired a young teenage Sara Gonzales to go study criminal justice? And is there some alternate universe in which petite Sara Gonzales is walking a beat with a badge and a gun?
There might be in like Earth 2.0. There might be a Sara Gonzales who's just like maybe helping reform the FBI or something. Sure. But I honestly was very interested in law. I was very interested in politics for forever. But I was just interested in all of those things when I was growing up. It's kind of embarrassing to say, but I really did. I watched a lot of Cops because that program was like at probably its peak. I watched a lot of Law and Order, and it just fascinated me. And I remember I didn't go into college thinking that I was going to pursue that. I actually did, as any responsible student goes in, and you're like, what do you want to do? I don't know, so I'll just do business. That's what I thought. I'll just go in. I got accepted to the business school at Texas State, and I'm like, it's fine. I'll just figure it out later. And I went to orientation, and they showed me all of the classes that I would have to take in the business school, and it's like Finance 101, Snooze Fest, auditing, snooze fest. And I'm like, this sounds terrible. I don't want to do this. So I talked to my parents and I'm like, I have all the core classes are the same regardless, right? So why don't I just go and pursue something that I'm actually interested in? And that was criminal justice. And my minor was forensic psychology. So I just did that instead because I was interested in it. And I did go through an internship with Garland Police Department as a forensic investigator one summer. So they trained me to be a forensic investigator. And I was much heavier back then, Michael. I don't know if you've ever seen my fat pictures. I'm allowed to say that because it's about me.
I have not, no.
Okay, so I was much heavier back then. And I remember thinking it was kind of my transition to lose weight. I lost 100 pounds in my senior year of college because I thought if I want to join the FBI, this is where my head was at. If I want to join the FBI, I have to be in shape. I have to be fit. They're not going to hire me. I won't pass the standards.
Gotcha.
And that was where, I really thought I'm going to do this. And then I saw how much, these forensic investigators got paid and how much police officers got paid in the area and the hours they had to work. And honestly, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I started having anxiety about, you go to enough burglaries and thefts and stuff like that. Every time I left home, I was worried that someone was going to burglarize my house. And so I just ended up not going into it and going into sales instead. And
Well, yeah, ironically, and said you went into business then, so rather than...
I could have used a business degree then at that point. So it was just kind of a strange turn of events that I ended up where I ended up. But I pursued it. I really had good intentions when I went.
So leapfrogging through a whole lot of stuff, what you've been doing, I guess your most recent job title is vice president at Texas Family Project, where you've been leading the Defend Our Kids project there. And you've been going sometimes incognito, sometimes not as incognito, to drag shows and to these crazy events targeting children. So maybe, kind of that whole full circle thing, right? And back to some of those early skills.
Right. Yeah. No, I'd like to think so. It is a very full circle event for me. I do remember when I was in college, my crime statistics professor asked me to go down to his office for office hours. And I was like, this is a little strange. So I went and he told me, I really think that you should pursue law school. And I said, I'm graduating in 3.5 years. I worked really hard to graduate early. The last thing I want to think about is going into debt to go back to school. I just don't know if I want to do it. And I always wonder if I would have worked out as an attorney. I do have really good arguing skills. You can ask my husband.
Really?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have been on the receiving end of that, including your wonderful husband.
Yeah. So it is, a lot of things in my life do come a little bit full circle for me. So
okay, so you leave Texas State. You're not going to go walk a beat in Garland or something. What was it during that interim period doing sales? You had your own business. At what point there did you start thinking, I think I have something more to say than just having conversations with coworkers and clients and neighbors and friends? How did the movement into media happen?
Yeah. So it started out as just a part-time hobby. I wanted to, I have a lot of opinions, as you know, Michael, that I need to get off my chest at times.
So many of them.
Yeah, just hidden, right? And so it started out as just kind of a blog on a website called redstate.com. And it was, Barack Obama was in his second term, and I had watched the industry that I was in, which was insurance. I had watched the industry that I was in get completely decimated with Obamacare. And I just thought, I have a lot of feelings. I want to get them out here onto something, just out into the world. And so I just started blogging, and what started as a blog on this website turned into, okay, well, now people are reading your stuff. We want you to be a front page editor, which turned into moving from Red State to the Blaze. And I was on the .com site at first, and I was writing, and reporting news stories. But I did tell them when I started at the Blaze, I said, I really would prefer to do something on camera. I like speaking a lot more than I like typing things up. So just know that if there's ever an opportunity that presents itself, I'd like to take it. And so I weaved this path of, this was part-time for fun, and I had the full-time brokerage firm. And then eventually it flip-flopped, and I was doing insurance brokerage part-time and this full-time. And then eventually I was like, I can't take this on anymore. And I had to, sell my book of business and just say, okay, I'm going into politics full time. But
was that hard for you? Because I know when you and I first met years ago, you were still doing Red State. There was a point which you took a great deal of pride is such a mixed word.
Sure.
But there was a great deal of independence to that way that came from, you were a business owner.
Yeah.
You had this business over here that, so was that hard for you then to make that decision to, okay, I'm going to go all in on this. What was your goofy hobby going over there?
At times, there are obviously pros and cons when you weigh everything. So at times it was hard, especially because the flexibility and the cushiness of owning your own business. Obviously I worked really hard, but a lot of the hard work that I did was at, maybe 9 o'clock at night so that I could spend time with my son during the day. And, I did a homeschool, private school kind of, it was both all in one. And so I was able to do that. And then moving into politics, I was like, I can't do this anymore, but I can save the country for my kids. So it was kind of this moment of clarity where I went, okay, it's not going to be the same, but I think that what I'm doing is going to be a lot more important for the country and for my kids. And so in that respect, it's like, okay, I'm all in.
Well, one thing that has that I think surprises me in some ways, but amuses me maybe more than surprises me, is the way you deal with the haters, the way you deal with the miscreants.
Mhm.
Because very rarely on social media people will criticize me. They will criticize other conservative men. Oh, you're a fascist, you're a Nazi, whatever, kind of things, whatever. Conservative women, particularly conservative minority women, there is a certain level of vile and vitriol that's I will see these comments. I'm thinking, I think I would go hide in a hole if someone was saying this to me. And that's daily for you. How do you process internally? And then I don't want to talk about the kind of name and shame game that you play. But at what point did you realize I just got to roll with this?
I do think that people are either built like that or they're not. Right. I just think that when you enter this space, you have to be built for that. And if you're not, then you won't survive. I've just never really cared much what people thought of me, especially people who want to, hide behind an anonymous account on social media, try to spew their rhetoric, all these things that they would never say to my face. And so I just think it's funny. I think it's amusing. I like to turn it back on them because I don't want people to think that they can say these things with impunity, right? They can say these things about people they don't know and think that no one's ever going to say anything. No one's going to call them out. No one's going to, I think that we could become in a dangerous place when people feel that emboldened to be able to say stuff like that with no repercussions. So I think it's important to remind them that I am a human and I do have feelings and I do have thoughts and opinions and, maybe think twice before just taking to social media to smear and tar and feather people the way that they always do.
It feels like I'm very biased. I'm on kind of operate on one side of the world. Don't pay much attention to the side of the world. It feels like that again. Conservative women who are either Hispanic, Latino, Black, Asian, whatever kind of,
we're traitors.
That it is so much coming from oftentimes white males and very progressive white males. They're proud feminists,
right?
Who just say that these. Am I misreading?
No, you're not. And it is funny too because it's a lot of like, oh, how could you vote for someone who works against you? Oh, how could you be a race traitor? Oh, how could you? And I get like half of them say that I'm betraying my Hispanic origin, and then half of them say that you're white passing and you're only, it's so like I can't even make sense of it. Right. But it is a lot of times these white feminist men who have something to mansplain to me. And I do remind them, I think that it is important to use their own verbiage, use their own buzzwords against them. Because I thought mansplaining was bad, right? I thought that you were not supposed to tell me how I need to think and feel at all. And here I have these white men always telling me how I need to feel oppressed by the Republican Party, how I need to, they say, oh, well, they'd deport you if they could. And I'm like, it's just weird because you guys are always the ones who bring up my race. I never get that from my fellow Republicans. They never seem to care. It's only you guys on the left who care about what my last name is, about the color of my skin. It's interesting how that is.
It's a lot of insecurity. It's talking about a lot of insecurity.
Yeah. Oh, of course. And so, it's not lost on me, the type of people who are always coming out and saying hateful things. And you can never please everybody, right? So I have these convictions. I'm not doing it for fun. I'm not doing it for play. I'm not doing it for clicks or views or anything else. These are my convictions and I stand firm in them. And so you can call me whatever you want. You can, make fun of the way I look. You can, it's never, it's like, oh, you're fat. Oh, you're too thin. Eat a hamburger. Oh, you're it's like, I'm never going to please everyone. I understand that. I just don't care what they have to say about me because I'm on a mission. And that's all that I care about, right? Like I would do anything to make sure that my family is secure. And so it just slides off me. It just bounces off me. I just don't care. I just try to have fun with it, Michael?
Well, and I think that's where what I always count.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the only way I see some of these nasty things is you will repost them, you will screenshot. This.
They should feel ashamed.
There's almost a badge of honor that you seem to take. You pin on, oh, look what this one said.
Yeah, yeah.
And it feels like that's maybe in some ways a good lesson for a lot of folks.
I think it's a nice playbook.
Yeah.
I think people should use it. I really do. I think that we should shame these people. We should shame and mock them for thinking that this is the way that they should be behaving to people. I've never in my life thought to myself, I'm going to go on to some random, public figure just to tell them that I think they have a big forehead. You know what I mean? It's like they come up with all this stuff and I'm just, I've never in my life thought to myself, that's what I'm going to do with my time.
Right.
But that's how these people think. And I think that they need to be mocked and shamed. I just think that that's where we're at. That's what time it is. I just think this does need to be, a lot of people will tell me, Michael, they'll say, you shouldn't amplify the online trolls. I'm like, I'm going to amplify all of them. I think that we should all see how these people operate because the best disinfectant is sunlight. Let's just show everyone who these people are, because as much as you want to say this is an online Twitter troll, these are your neighbors. Right. These are the people you go to the grocery store with. These are the people you see in restaurants. These are our real people. I think it's important to expose them.
Well, and I think to your point, the little twerpy guy who is saying nasty things to you on social media, might be your kid's fifth grade teacher, might be working at all these kind of places, and it's wait a second,
right?
You need to see how this person, if they're willing to say this to a person they don't know, what else they want to do.
Exactly.
Maybe the lessons that we've taken maybe over the last few weeks following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, these other situations that it feels like on our side, we do way too much of, let's just be nice. And
right.
and look, there's you've got to be nice. Being nice is, I guess, important.
Sure.
Although I'm less convinced of that than ever before in my life. But in many ways, the nicest thing I can do is say, what are you saying here?
Right.
Do you really want that to be how people know you?
Right.
By saying that's that kind of intervention that we we kind of owe to each other as fellow human beings.
Exactly.
That kind of intervention of is this how you want to be remembered? And
exactly right. It's like
there are too few checks.
Right. Exactly. It's like my friend Shia, who runs the Libs of TikTok account on social media. A lot of people gave her a lot of hate when all she was doing, she's literally just amplifying their messages.
Right.
And they're saying, you can't spread, don't spread these videos. You're spreading them for bad reasons. It's like, you guys are putting this content out there in order for people to see it. Otherwise, why put it out there? I'm just showing more people. And if the court of public opinion determines that you're a jerk or that you need to rethink or reevaluate some of your, ideals and values, maybe you should. But I'm doing you a favor.
I would. I think the criticisms of her would have merit if I learned that she was walking into a teacher's classroom, giving them a script, and then filming them saying these horrible things,
right?
And then
right.
No, these are their videos.
They're just doing it themselves.
And in the same way, it's what you've been doing.
Yeah.
With a lot of these drag shows and things where all you're doing is showing what these folks are saying and doing in front of audiences.
Right.
And they really are worried about being exposed.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Which is weird. They're exposing themselves. But they don't want you to expose them.
They're exposing themselves sometimes quite literally in front of children, okay? Not just metaphorically. And somehow I'm the bad guy. Somehow I get put on there have been several instances where I've turned up and I'm on a list. They have like extra security specifically there to look for me. Just for me. I showed up one time a couple years ago in Fort Worth because I have wigs for this purpose. So I got a blue wig and a pink wig. And my blue wig I was wearing, and this was, it was still like not weird to wear a mask, or a COVID mask. So I had a wig, I had a mask on. I thought
you may as well have had a Democrat voting card.
I know.
Blue hair and a mask.
I thought I was in.
Yeah,
right.
You could have been the chair of the Tarrant County Democratic Party.
I could have. And so I get up there and they ask to see my ID, and they've got a list of I guess a picture of me, and so they weren't asking for anyone else's IDs. just mine. So it's like they have gone through major measures to prevent me from going in there and recording what they are doing and showing it to the world. And you have to wonder why that is. If what you guys think you're doing is so noble, what is the problem with me showing everyone else? Seems to me like if you really believe that what you're doing is right and just, you wouldn't have a problem with it. You'd give me a thank you. You know, Michael, I've never received a thank you from any of these leftists.
You've made some of them very famous.
I've made them very famous. Millions of views on their videos. Not one thank you have they ever given me.
How ungrateful.
I know.
They clearly were not well raised. They were clearly not well raised.
Clearly.
So I guess we've kind of backed into this topic, but I want to know for all. You, from my perspective, you suddenly Sara Gonzales is on a mission. This is before Texas Family Project. This is before Defend Texas Kids. Sara Gonzales on this mission with these folks who are, as you said, exposing themselves to children. What inspired you to dive in the way that you did? I mean, it's one thing on your Blaze show, on Come and Take It, on you know, on Twitter to say, "Oh, this is bad." To type the words, "This is bad." To speak the words, "This is bad." It's something else entirely to say, "I'm going to go in there and I'm going to take pictures and I'm going to take video." What was it that what sparked in your head the desire to do that?
Yeah, I had some friends who went to a gay bar in Dallas called Mr. And they got some of the most horrific footage of children. It was the bar, people will probably remember, it was the one that said, they had a sign that said, "It's not going to lick itself." And, it was all of these young children and these drag queens just doing disgusting things right in front of them. And I saw that footage, and in a way, and I say this and I mean it, in a way it radicalized me, because a lot of the kids who are being brought to these events are young boys. Right. These are mentally ill mothers bringing their young boys to be exposed and indoctrinated into this at a young age. And I have young boys. And I just thought, I'm not comfortable living in a society where this is normalized and made okay. And I had a sneaking suspicion. I don't think that people really believe. Like if you were to tell them, guys, down the corner from us in this red area where we always vote Republican, there's a club down the street. And I'm not speaking of that bar, but I'm speaking of Plano, Texas, where it was one of my first ones that I went to. This is a heavily Republican area. There's a restaurant down the street called Ebb and Flow that they are having a drag brunch for kids. And there's sexually explicit music that's being played while these drag queens are gyrating in front of young children. Like if I went and just told them, "Hey, this is happening," nobody would believe me. I thought to myself, nobody is going to actually buy that this is happening unless you show them. They have to see it with their eyes, because I think that it will radicalize everyone once they see. This is something that overwhelmingly Americans and Texans agree on. This is bad. And so I thought, nobody else wants to do it. It's just nobody wants to be exposed to this, not even the kids that are being brought there. Why not me? Maybe it needs to be me. And so I did it. And another thing on that, Michael, is that I don't think that people, I gave lawmakers a lot of grace. Some grace, which I think maybe I shouldn't have given at this point in time, but I gave them a lot of grace. And I said, I think that there's no law on the books for this, only because nobody thought that society would get this gross. No lawmaker could have predicted, hey, we need to make sure to write in the code that parents are not allowed to bring their children to these events that essentially you might as well see it at a strip club. But because it's done at a restaurant, or some other place of business, they're allowed to do it. Like, I just thought they didn't have the foresight, and who could blame them for not realizing and recognizing that needed to be something that we needed to prevent parents from doing. And so I did give them some grace in that. And I just thought, I got to tell everyone. I've got to go in there. There's more of this going on. I know it. And I need for people to see this so everyone wakes up and says no more.
In fact, I will own my own culpability in this. I think the first time or two that I heard you talking about
Mhm.
this, I thought, I'm not sure. It's as pervasive as Sarah says it is. When my team said, "Oh, Michael," I was like, "Oh no, come on!
Yeah.
Maybe these one or two instances where
She's sensationalizing
yeah, no,
it.
this
Sure.
is a bit yeah." And then you find out this is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's happening in small towns.
Yeah.
It's the the drag queen story hours. It's the brunches.
Mhm.
It's all these things, and it was just horrifying.
Yeah.
There were a number of points. Okay, I need to go to one of these. I thought, I don't think I'm built to
Right.
stand it. I think
I understand.
I'd probably get in trouble
Yeah.
very quickly
Yeah.
for doing something I would regret. And it made me, every time I would see you post one of these videos, I would think, well, thank goodness for Sara Gonzales, because
Right.
you had the temerity to go in and the presence of mind to remain calm as
Yeah.
you were filming the stuff. Where I'm fairly certain I would have done something inappropriate,
Right.
and that would not have been good for anyone.
Yeah. It
And
takes all kinds.
yeah, it
you know?
does definitely.
It takes all of us. It takes all of us.
I appreciate you being willing to go into that particular alliance.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. Listen, I like 10 showers every time I would come home from any of these events. But I knew that it was work that needed to be done.
So let's talk about happier things.
Okay.
Let's talk about The Blaze. Let's talk
Yeah.
about Unfiltered with
Yeah.
Sara Gonzales. Walk folks through. You've done now this, I guess, your second show.
Yes.
There at The Blaze. Walk folks through how your preparation goes for that, because it's it looks very easy. As having been a guest on your show, I get to just walk in and there you
Sure.
are. You've got questions and you chat. There's a lot more that goes on to put on a show like that.
Right. Yeah.
Walk folks through that.
Yeah. Luckily I do have producers who are very, very helpful. So I don't mean to insinuate that I'm the only one that's doing the heavy lifting here.
But you're doing most of the heavy lifting.
You do have to know what you're talking about in order to, maybe some people don't. There are a lot of talking heads probably out there who the prompter goes out and they just freeze. But
they go out too.
Yeah, they go out too. But one of the greatest things that Glenn Beck, I call him my TV dad, one of the greatest things that Glenn Beck ever did for me was when I was starting the first show that I started there. It was called The News and Why It Matters. Mm-hmm. And as I'm saying that, you'll understand why I wanted to rebrand to Sara Gonzales, because The News and Why It Matters is kind of a mouthful. So we were doing that show and we sat down and I thought that I was going to have a prompter. I've never done this before. I've been on TV, but I've never hosted or moderated or held the conversation together. And we go down for a rehearsal and he says, "No, there's not going to be a prompter." And I'm like, "What do you mean there's not going to be a prompter? What do you mean there's not going to be a prompter? You've been doing this for 40 years. Give me just a moment, That I don't want you to have a prompter, because then you're going to rely on it and you're not going to be able to think for yourself. You need to be able to think on your feet." And looking back, I was like, darn you, Glenn Beck, you're going to ruin this for me. But looking back, it was the greatest thing. And I've told him the story. Looking back, it was the greatest thing that anyone could have done for me, because I realized that I need to be able to know what I'm saying. I can't just be reading words that someone else has written and be able to really get into anything. So, I have to research everything heavily. We go through every single morning. We go through, what do we want to talk about today? I want it to be relevant to the audience who is sitting down with their, probably not with their kids to watch my show, but with their, with their spouses at the end of the day, and they want to consume content that is important to them. And so it's a daily process of, in the mornings, we got to figure out what we're going to talk about. I have to make sure I know what we're talking about, and also why it's important to who's watching. Why do they need to hear about this? Why should it be important to them? And be able to explain to them why it is important to them, or why it should be important to them. So there is a lot of work that goes into that. And then, of course, taping it, and you've been on it, and we do live to tape, which means you can't continue to keep starting over. You got to be prepared to go through the whole thing until break, and then reset and keep going. So there is a lot of work that goes on there. I like to believe it's all for a one very big intentional purpose, which is, of course, I'm not bashful about the fact that I want to make a more conservative country. I want to make a more conservative state. I think that, we need to return to our founding principles. I think that we've strayed far, far away from them. And if I can make more people conservative, if I can wake more people up, it is for a much greater purpose than, just coming on and yapping my mouth. So time well spent.
Well, I think what's something that differentiates the Blaze, I hope differentiates Texas Scorecard, is that notion of this is not Sarah sitting there to get the viewer riled up so they can feel like they did something.
Yeah.
In fact, there's the sense of the reason we're talking about this is not necessarily to get you riled up, but to get you thinking, to get you active, to get you motivated, to give you more tools in your own conversations to be more effective.
Yeah.
And I think it's where so many Americans have been kind of lulled into a sense of lethargy because they turn on a lot of cable shows, a lot of podcasts, whatever, and it's just all geared to kind of make you angry for a few minutes and then buy some soap and go back to eating your ice cream. And we do, but we do. Oh, if we're going to save the republic, we owe it to each other to kind of help each other understand why these things matter, and how people can make a difference.
Yes. Especially when it comes to local representation, because I think that there are a lot of people who often forget. I try to remind people on my show, both shows, the one that I have with Texas Scorecard, come and take it. I try to remind people. The local officials, the local elected officials that you have representing you are going to affect your daily life far more than the president of the United States. I mean, they are way, way more involved in your day-to-day than any federally elected official. And so that matters. So you may think, there's an election. Oh, it's just that one school board seat. I don't really need to show up. No, because the other side is very, very intentionally making sure that they do show up. And so it really is important that we remind people of that. And, I think that they often lose sight of the fact that government officials work for us, not the other way around. There are a lot of people in Austin, there are a lot of people in D.C. who would really love it if we forgot that. And I think it's important to remind people of that and remind them, like, this is your power. Make sure to wield it responsibly.
I think it's humorous when I will hear folks say, I'm so mad about what's happening in my school district. I hope the president does something about it. Well, wait a second. Donald Trump doesn't know where Leander is, nor should he. I don't want the president of the United States. Well, actually, because we have a cabinet secretary from Leander, that's probably he might know it. But this should be my responsibility. And yet, again, through miseducation, through some cultural things, we've encouraged people to think, have Washington solve our problems. There's I think it was Dwight Eisenhower, might be wrong. Government can only do for you what government can do to you. And I think we need to reclaim some of that.
Washington can't solve their own problems. They're not going to solve ours. They are lost over there in Washington, D.C. I just think, and Michael, one of the most frustrating experiences of my life. I'm so glad that I did it. But one of the most frustrating experiences in the political world was working as I say work. I was volunteering, but for Mitch Little. Of course, freshman of the year in the Texas House. He's been a tremendous asset to the House.
Right.
You're welcome, everyone, by the way, because I helped. Okay. But in working for him.
In full disclosure, I had suggested he should probably wait a couple of years running so he could really get his feet under him. And he has reminded me
that
very
is
graciously,
so funny.
Never telling me you're an idiot, although he probably should. That was my...
That's really funny.
But then I said to everyone, you shouldn't run. Running for office is stupid.
Yeah. Do you hate yourself? Because if you don't run for office. But so I was poll greeting in the primary election, and there were so many people who I of course I'm approaching everyone, and I try to approach these people, and so many people had said, "Oh no, we're voting straight Republican," and I'm like, you guys don't even know what you showed up to do. That is scary to me. Now, I'd like to believe that I convinced enough of them on their way into the door, like, hey, if you want conservative, if you're America first, this is your guy, and him and many others, of course, that I was going down the line on the ticket. But I was just like, oh my gosh, we have too many uneducated voters.
You're walking to the Republican primary and you're talking about voting for all the Republicans. Well, definitionally, yes.
Yes. But vote
there's
for the right
no difference,
one.
right? For both the right Republicans.
Yes. So it was in that moment that I was like, oh my gosh, these people are actually like, they want to show up, they want to participate, but they just are not educated on the process. And we need to be educating more people on that. So that is another thing that I've tried to do with the platform that I have, the microphone that I have, is reminding people what this process is and make sure that you're educated. I think it's crazy. You hear about places, like I think it's Australia, they have compulsory voting and you are obligated to vote. And I'm like, I don't want that at all. I only want you voting if you have done all of the studies and research to make sure you know who and what you're voting for. If you're not, don't come.
Exactly. All right. So before we end today, it's been very exciting to see over the past couple of years the number of young men, young women willing to step up, step out, be a little countercultural and be conservative.
Yeah.
To some of to those kind of kids, what kind of recommendation would you give to those who think that maybe they would like to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I would say first and foremost, binge watch all of Charlie Kirk's videos. They're out there. I keep encouraging Turning Point to make an encyclopedia of a table of contents. Pick the subject that you want to argue and watch a video from Charlie Kirk. But I would say it is easier now more than ever to get your voice out. It's so easy to be a presence on social media. It's and I say this being someone who, when I did it, it was like, kind of, people had X accounts, but it wasn't as big as it is now to be seen, right? It's now easier more than ever to start a podcast. It's now more than easier than ever to grab your iPhone and record yourself talking, and get your message out there. It's so much easier now than it was before to make sure that you are heard. But I would also say start getting involved locally. Go to your school board meetings. Tell them how you feel. They hate it when you remind them that they answer to us, actually, that we pay their salaries. They hate that. Do it anyway. And just get involved locally, I would say, is the first step to doing that. But I would encourage all of them, because we need all of the voices that we can. We need the younger generation. I went to when I went to the convention and I was a delegate, going through that process, I was honestly horrified at how few. I think I was the youngest one there. And I'm not a spring chicken. And I'm like, oh no. And I just want to be clear, it's very, very boring. Some of these meetings that you have to go to, they're very boring, but they're so necessary to shaping the entire direction of the party. And so I would encourage all of them, get involved locally, be a delegate, go to the boring meetings, because guess what? Then when it comes time for convention, you have a spot and you are able to be heard and you get to influence the direction of the political party that you are involved in. And I think that that's important. So I would say do all of those things. And I think that we can all work together to help make Texas a much, much more conservative, great place.
And how can folks see Sara Gonzales every day?
Great question, Michael. They can go to YouTube. Sara Gonzales Unfiltered is the YouTube channel. And they can watch. So on that channel, they can watch both Sara Gonzales Unfiltered from Blaze TV every weeknight, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. They can also watch Come and Take It every Tuesday, that we have the episodes drop on Tuesday at noon, we've got that playlist, Come and Take It, so they can go to YouTube and they can get a 2-for-1 deal.
Outstanding. Sara Gonzales, thank you for being in the fight. Appreciate you sitting down with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining this edition of Real Texans.